is a definite and infinite radio frequency through which everything in existence could perfectly communicate with one another. A state of harmony where the mind can effectively transmit messages irrespective of the species of this creature. A creature to very many limited humankind in the world could either mean a fellow human being or animals.
Hello everybody and welcome with me. My name is Greatman Ayilara, and this very moment I will be taking you through what I call the systematic programming of human mind through religious instruments or religious tools. I was talking to a certain guy on my trip to Abuja recently. Even though he has heard about our humanitarian picnic and he came around, he said he felt it is one of these Christian gatherings and all that, and he was so marveled to find out something different. And we got talking. I told him that it has been established scientifically that human beings are just 1% intelligent than other creatures in this world. That the difference between human being and the animals in the field is just because of the utilization of 1% intelligence in them. This intelligence is what tells you what is right, what is wrong. This intelligence is what allows you to take your own decision and make up your own mind. This intelligence gives you the intuition to be able to make up your own sphere and say, okay, this is where I want to go. I don't want to go there. I don't want to move with these people. I want to move with these people. The only difference between you and the rest of the animals in the field is just that 1% of intelligence. Now, if you are a human being with that kind of intelligence, but you find yourself being controlled by others, being told what to eat, what to drink, where to go, who to marry, how to sleep, how to talk, when to eat or when to drink. I asked him that, what is now the difference between you and the animals of the field? Because the message or the importance of your intelligence is to be able to give you a mind of your own. But when you get to a spot in life where you cannot even make up your own mind, when you get to a situation in life where someone else has to dictate to you how to dress, what to put on, you can't use this jewelry, you can't dress this way, you can't put on this trouser, you can't drink like this, you can't eat at this time, you can't do this, you can't sleep this way. This is the time for you to talk to a certain God. This is the time for you to do this and all that. Bring your money, go with your money, build a house and all that. What is it now the difference between you and the animals that you call just the creature of instinct? This is what religion does to you. And by no means, I do not intend to make you stop becoming a Muslim person or a Christian. I do not want you to be free from your chain whatsoever if you are convenient putting it on as a necklace. But this is one thing I assure you. If you give me a few minutes of your time, you will be free from the fear of hell and the anticipation of heaven. Now, there is one thing that is very important to you as a person. One thing that if you let go in life, you are no more different than the four-legged animals. That thing is called your own confidence. Your confidence. The ancient scrolls state that don't throw away this confidence, because with it comes great reward. But have you ever wondered why the only and the very first thing religion is targeting, taking away from you, is your confidence? Remember that you are not different from an animal if you are the one being told what to do, how to eat, who to marry, what to wear, where to go, when to eat, what to drink. You are not different from the animals. That's what you tell your puppy. That's what you tell your dogs. That's what you tell all these pets that you buy. Your mind also is one thing that is your inherent divine nature. Ability for you to make it up now makes you a true human being. When you are able to be the author and finisher of your own mind, something happens to you. You exact a form of freedom at a certain level that you become a threat to every single one that want to hold you bound or captive. So in order to make you a slave, and in order for you to listen perpetually to the remote control of religion, what it does is to first take away this mindset from you, ability for you to think outside the box or even think for yourself. So I hear a lot of you will say, I'm going to my Father in the Lord to help me pray. So many of you will say, I want to marry, but I need to check it out with my prophet. So many people will say, I want to start this business, but I need to be in agreement with my pastor. A lot of you want to move from point A to B, but without your pastor saying, okay, do this, do that, you cannot. And the most innate feeling that you have inherited by the spirit of life, the yearning to be able to communicate with your higher self, you still cannot do that except you go through your pastor, or your pastor say this and that, or your sheikh or your imam say that. You live a life whereby if someone has not approved of your action, you don't believe you are doing the right thing. And perpetually, from the family setting, we also train up our children to wait on the validation of others before they can call themselves approved. So your child will go to school, perform well, and come home and say, Mommy, Daddy, I'm the best in my class. And you say, no, don't praise yourself. Let other people praise you because that is a sign of humility. No, that is not a sign of humility. That is a sign of slavery. You are programming this child to become a slave. So when they grow up and they enter into the full-time religious sphere, it is easy for their pastors, their sheikh, the religious leader of their sect, to be able to control their life. So somebody will say, take poison, and you take it. Somebody will say, open your mouth and begin to speak in tongue, and you begin to share, and you think that you are making sense. I was making a jest of these people that speak in tongue earlier in our seekers group, and I said, that is the only time they said devil doesn't understand them. And I wonder if they themselves understand themselves when they speak those gibberish. Now that is not the crux of the matter for today. If you are online with me and you ever believe that I could make any sense, press the share button. Religion has made you believe that this book is your manual for living. It's your manual for living. I don't have a Quran here. I would have raised it up. As the Christian folks make you believe that this is your manual for living, the Muslim folks also make you believe that Quran is your manual for living. Earlier this week, that was on Sunday, when I came back from my trip, the taxi driver that took me from the airport home, we were talking, and he couldn't place me very well. He couldn't fix me that to be a Muslim or a Christian. But from the way he saw me, he said he could feel that there is a presence around me. This is not to make a boast. I hear this comment a lot. And he asked some question about religion he wanted me to answer. Especially that it was a Sunday and the whole street was packed with cars blocking the road. And he said, is there God really? And if there is God, must people get to this spot before they can see this God? I thought he's everywhere. And we began to talk. And he said, nobody can fool me. He said, I have been to Jerusalem many times. And I try to make friends with the Israelis. And I speak about Jesus with them and they make me like a fool. And he said he was a former pastor in RCCG. And when he knew that it was all a lie, he needed to pull out and his own living by driving taxi. By that, he felt his conscience is calm. Now we got talking, and within 1 hour, I'm able to convince him that you don't need to be thinking of yourself as guilty or not normal. Just be a seeker. And he became one of us. Now, he raised a lot of questions about this book that I'm browsing, this Bible. And I brought him back to the point where there is almost a force that they are applying to you, making sure that you don't go a day without coming across a content of this particular book. Now, inside this book, it was said that everything there was written by the inspiration of who? Of God. It was by the inspiration of God that it was written that if two men are fighting and the woman comes to save her own husband, the hand of the woman, if it touches the scrotum of the other man, should be cut off by the inspiration of God. Now, stay with me. It was also by the inspiration of God that it was written that some people should just go and grab other people's land, kill their suckling child, kill the nursing mothers, and also the strangers among them by the inspiration of God. I want to take note. They said it was written by the inspiration of God. It was by the inspiration of God that the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and was written. And the four gospels actually contradict each other. Some says that everyone around when Jesus was being baptized, even though Jesus was a fable, heard when the heaven opened and said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." But the very book of John stated that it was only John the Baptist that heard this voice and told the rest. By the inspiration of God, contradiction exists. It was by the inspiration of God that they said Quran was written. And in that Quran, you are to kill other people who chose another way of life than yours. I want Africans to listen. Now, I put it to people that every single word I say tomorrow, if it is captured down and written well, will also be marketed to the people of the future generation as what? As the inspiration of God. Because as I stand now, if there is a God, I believe I'm speaking by the inspiration of that God, not the inspiration of the devil. You sure have read so many books by maybe John Maxwell and several other people, Miles Monroe and all that. With whose inspiration did they write a book? At least you will, I know you will never put your money down on a book that you know quite well was written by the inspiration of the devil. The devil, you know. So when an author writes something, either to use it for religious sake or for expression's sake, everything was written by the inspiration of the Spirit of life. Now it is because of the presence of the Spirit of life in a person that we can call that person a creature or a living being. And make no mistake that you are only living being in this world. Make no mistake by limiting living creatures to be animals of the field and the fishes of the sea. The trees are also living creatures. The stones are also living creatures. The sand of the shore, they are also living creatures. The water is a living creature. You do not know because religion will limit your scope of knowing all the other occupants of this planet Earth. Now, if all of these things emanated from the Spirit of life, then they emanated through the medium of communication, which means they can also speak and you can speak to them. Except you don't understand, that is one thing. We will get to that on some other day. Now, all of the paper, all of the words in this book, even though it is not the original text, it is a translated text, was written by a man like you and I. So I'm going to give you an example. Today, in this dispensation, with the little people that knows me as a person, knows what I say. They know a person like Oyedepo, they know people like TSA, they know people like Ajeboye and the rest of it. In the future, in the far future, some people gather together and say, okay, I align with the word that this man said. Let me take what is good from what he's saying. Let me say what this is what great man said when he was alive. This is what Adeboye said when he was alive. This is what Oyedepo said when he was alive. And all of those good things, let's combine them together and then write what they say down. Now, listen how the Bible was written. Let's write what they say down. And let's call this book the book of great man, that the book of Adeboye, this, the book of this and all that. Now let's form a religion around it. That the age of awakening, let's say the age of awakening or awakening book. Now they begin to write it like that. Now those people in the future, in order to also validate what they are writing and what they want other people to believe and think like, they also say it is by the inspiration of God. As a matter of fact, they nearly want to say that one spirit from heaven wrote these things down. Think now. Or whatever it is that any man collated together, they collated together simply to affect your mindset and your way of thinking. You know the reason why people become author and publishers? They become author and publisher because they want to influence your way of life. Every author in life is an influencer. Now, all of these people wrote all these things according to the limitation of their own knowledge, just to make you think like you think. When you read something from someone, it is like you seeing from the perspective of that person or from the window of that person's eyes. At the point the person was writing that, no one told you who inspired the person. But the uniqueness of the Bible is it is filled up with a lot of plagiarism. Most of the things in this book are things that was discovered by the archaeologists from the ruins of the old Egypt civilization. But that's not the crux of the matter now. The crux of the matter is the insistence that this is your manual for living. Now let's start faulting it from the angle that most of the things you are seeing here are not originally Hebraic or Jewish text. They have nothing related to all these people. Most of the things you are seeing here are ways of life of the Egyptians. Plagiarism. Now the Egyptian that this thing was plagiarized from, it was plagiarized from people who practice a very thick occultic things. So you need to understand what I'm trying to say to you. Let me break it down. Now, the subject of seeking is not about countering one person's religious sect or saying this is good or this is not good. The concept of seeking is knowing who you are and becoming divine, maximizing your divine reality. I keep telling my people, the seekers like me, I told them that if the purpose of our seeking is to establish the fact that most of the things here are Egyptian scroll, we will be leaving frying pan, we'll be going back to fire. Because we'll be leaving Christianity, Islam, we'll be going back to the cultism of the Egyptian world. Now, the purpose of seeking is to become the fullness of yourself. We are not seeking to meet God, we are seeking to become God in our own limited capacity. Now, when they said this is your manual for living, what they meant is to think like this, act like this, live like this, and behave like this. That's why most of you are bloody Christians. Bloody Christians in terms of everything about you is about the blood, the blood, the blood, the shedding of the blood, the human sacrifice, the pleading of the blood, they die by fire, they fall down and die, and everything is so bloody. Because they said you should think like this. From Genesis to Revelation, this book is filled up with blood. Blood everywhere. From the very Genesis to the last Revelation, filled up with blood. Now, when a tyrant wants to make other people think like himself, what he does is to put his thought in ink and document it down. Aside the fact that few 100 years after the death of Jesus, as claimed. The Council of Nicaea, that was supervised by Emperor Constantine, came about to give you one book through which they can control your mind. Now listen to me. The battle you have now is not even a battle against the Israeli or the Jewish people. The battle you have now, where the world power is right now, as long as religion, occultism, and all the spirituality stuff is right now, is Rome, the Roman people. In order to make this thing far and wide, they chose to tell an African story using, God, man. The Roman folks chose to tell African story, occultic African story, using characters of the Jewish people. Now, can you see the way they merge us together now? They were actually telling the story and things that happened in Africa, but they ensured to make it look presentable for the people of the West and people of the, they use characters from Middle East. So in every way, no one can escape all this. The Roman people. And calling it your manual for living simply means that your God is not bigger or larger than this book. When you call this your manual for living, what you are simply telling the world and the universe is that whatever is not found in this book, you are not meant to function that way. That if this book is apart, you are an animal. You don't think for yourself anymore. And when they say something is your manual for living, it means you dare not query it, that you were manufactured single-handedly out of this. So how were you manufactured by the story of the Egyptians that was actually given the character of the Jewish? So if this is your manual for living, you are the greatest, most confused people in the world. I'll be giving you an example of General Tojo of Japan. When he was going to rise up to power to begin to control his people, what he did was to produce a book. I've forgotten the tyrant that rose up from China also. The man with the bad head. If you know, just help me time. He also produced a book. And in writing this book, what they said is to mandate every citizen, every member of their nation, to read the book almost 3 times a day and live strictly by that book, calling it their manual for living. The cover of the Chinese man is red. When Adolf Hitler was going to rise into power, in order to begin to perpetrate the mindset of his people, he wrote his book from the prison before he rose to power. He wrote his mindset down, talked about how white supremacy should be the order of life, how the Jewish people are the vermin in their feast, and all of those things, how they must exterminate them and all that. And people strictly were living according to the book written by Adolf Hitler. When Muammar Gaddafi was going to rise into the position of a tyrant, even though it is debatable, that title called tyrant, he wrote a book called The Green Book. The Green Book. The Green Book was meant to condition the mindset of every single Libyan. See, to the point that even children began to snitch on their parents. If the parents are doing something contrary to what has been written in the book produced by Muammar Gaddafi, the children are given a reward for snitching on their parents. Now, he presented himself, all of these men presented himself as a kind of father of the nation, making people believe that outside the book there is no life for them, making people believe that if they only can do what is in that book, there is a heaven they are taking them to. See, all of these men knows the old way of controlling the mind of man. I just need you to see life from my perspective, and you are my slave. Can I say it again? The moment I get you to the point of seeing life from my perspective, you are my slave. See, the problem of mankind is what they like and what they dislike. See, the moment you like a thing, every evil about that thing, you like it. The moment you dislike a thing, even the good things about that thing, you hate it. Isn't that what happened to your wives at home when they are telling her, this man is abusive, it's not good enough for you? Say, hey, demo baba ramon yo, oh, they're nice yo. She's still liking the man at that time. So she's blinded to all the things that is wrong about Baba Ramon. So in order to make the general populace like them, all of these men, Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi, the General Tojo, even Papa Doc of Haiti, the Adolf Hitler of Germany, and all of these people wrote a book single-handedly. All of them. You can go and research. Google is your friend. All of these people that has risen to the point of becoming a tyrant, they wrote a book and mandated their people to see life through the window of that book alone. Just like the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea, supervised by Constantine, produced this book for you called the Holy Bible and made you believe that this is your manual for living. I hope you know that in the process of taking this as your manual for living, there are different versions of Bible. The Catholic Bible is different from this and that. Even the Jehovah's Witness Bible is different from that. I don't know what is wrong with you guys. Are you not waking up? That your manual for living, if it pertains to all men, should be constant. Why is it changing? Why is it changing? Even the King James Version have some words in it that is removed by other versions of the Bible. And we all know the initiator of the King James Version, the Freemason folks. So there is a man called a Geo in this country who will always insist that you read King James Version. For what reason? Read between the lines. Knowing fully well that the cult called the Freemason are people who are architects. They build. Their own is to build. You know how they rule the world? They rule the world with triangle. Triangle. They can make anything with triangle. Anything at all with triangle. And no, man, it shouldn't be something so surprising to you these days that most of the skyscraper you see nowadays, most of this tall building and all that are made in form of a box, banking institution and all of this. Because the Freemason are those controlling, they are the world power behind most of this architectural design, and they must approve of it. But we'll get into that some other days. So the Freemason are the one who single-handedly supported King James Version of the Bible. Why is this man insisting? If you can see him well, if you can't see him very well, why is he insisting that it is either King James Version in his church or no other version at all? For him, he doesn't use any other version but King James. And if he's visiting a branch of his church, that day people must use King James. What is in King James? A story for another day. We are talking about how the human mind is being programmed by religious means. You were told that this is your manual for living. And because of that single affair, because whenever they tell you that God said, I should tell you, the moment you hear God, you suspend your reasoning habit. Because of that, you could not even query them to ask them viable questions in this book. Now, it is called Holy Bible. This thing has faded. Why now? You see, this holy, it also means holy. Holy. It also means hallow. Hallow. Have you seen hallow before when they are writing or they are sketching this supposed saint, maybe the image of Jesus? You know hallow? You know that hallow? You don't know hallow? Hallow is a sun. Sun is S-U-N. You know the sun that shines in the day. Bible means Biblios or Biblio. It also the same thing as book. So if holy is the same as holy or the same as hallows, And they say, Halos Biblio. It means the book of the Son. The book of the Son. So from beginning to the end, there's something that will still point you to this particular God called Horus in Egypt. They call him the Son of God. Son of God, S-U-N of God. Could there be a possibility that all that you have believed to be Christianity all your life is a pagan worship? And they insist that it must be your manual for living. That is not the story for today. Remember, I keep saying how your mind is being programmed. The programming happens the moment they begin to insist that you must read a certain book, especially when they call it devotional books. Let's take, for example, Pastor Adeboye now, respectfully. Yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday to you in Ariesa. Now, this is a book called Enoch Adeboye, Father of Nations. If you don't have a book, go and buy it. Read it. I'm telling you the truth. By the time you finish reading this book, you will almost see this man as God. The way the content of the book was painted, it was almost becoming divine, talking about his childhood. You know, all of them always have a very strange and miraculous childbirth and childhood, right? Talking about when he was lost in the bush and the white dog came to lead him through, talking about this and that and all those blah blah things. Everything just to program your mind to think that he is one metaphysical human being. And remember what I told you about Adolf Hitler, Muammar Gaddafi and the rest, and how they were being seen as the father of their nation. They were being called father of nation because they were the progenitor of a new nation or the starter of a new nation, because their people are made to believe that they are like a savior. Now, Enoch Adeboye, this is called Father of Nations. Now, I think Baba wrote a different edition to add more to all the things in this book. They insisted. Now, why are they insisting? So your mind can be porous and be corrupted to think only the way they want to think. Look at this. These are the books I obtained from them when I was doing School of Disciple and the rest and all that. It is from year 1 to I think about year 10 or so. These are prerequisites. These books are prerequisites. You must know them back to front before you can become a worker in their church. And all of these things are filled up with so many stories that point you back to only one man, this man. The same method. Now, in the church, they have open heaven. Now, we are just picking this as a case study. At least I know this one as well. They have open heavens. Open heavens which they mandated their members to read every morning. And especially on Sunday morning, you must read it before you start the service. And you dare not read it from your own perspective. They will tell you, read it word for word, the way Baba said. If there is a God who created you and I must only approach him through your own perspective and your own angle, that is a fake God. They have several other books. I have some in my library that we had to take in Oakland and sing when I was in their Bible college. Now, what is the result for all of this? We have the Oyedepo, all the Christians in Nigeria and the rest of them doing theirs too. We have our daily manna, different kinds. There is only one thing they are gunning for. It is your mind. Once your mind is captured to look at life the way they see life, you become their slaves. Now, it will marvel you sometimes when you see some people who are always supporting some people and say, I don't care what he says, even if he's this, even if he's that, even if he blah, 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 I do not care. Not all of these things are voodoo. Not all of them are charm. You see, the art of capturing the mind of men comes subtly. You will not know that you have been captured. You dress fine. You go to where you want to go to, but you will still come back to them. Even if they say they are killers, you are ready to raise a placard and protest for them. I wrote once, I said, whatever it is that you have learned, that you are not able to unlearn because you don't have a choice, you have learned nothing but slavery. Whatever it is you have learned in your life, but you are not able to unlearn because you don't have a choice, it shows you have learned nothing but slavery. So look at your life right now. The possibility of telling you that Jesus never existed, ever, and you believe in it is very slim. If I tell you that Jesus never existed, he never existed, that all of these things are fables and fictions and all that, and because you don't feed me, I'm able to tell you the truth. Because if you view the video or you don't view the video, it doesn't add to my bank account or not. I'm able to tell you the truth. I'm not one of those who are looking for crowd. I'm looking for only the free people. Free people who will be able to infect others with the spirit of freedom. If I tell you, you'll be angry. If I tell you now, you'll be so amazed. What is he saying? It's an antichrist. It's this and that. When I was in Antichrist, what is my usefulness in your life? So whatever it is you have believed to be true, and for a moment you cannot doubt it or scrutinize it or change it or even try to be like, what if what I know is true is not true? You have learned nothing. It is not the truth you have learned. You have learned the art of slavery. And this thing is something that you have put on yourself. Now, if I am the one depriving you of freedom, you have a case. But if you are the one depriving yourself of freedom, what is the case here? And the greatest stain in the world is the one we put ourselves into. Now look at yourself and see how much change you have put in yourself. Now, in the process of reading this book, you have created so many enemies amongst your friends, amongst your family, amongst your co-workers, amongst your community, in your neighborhood, in your dream, and even in real life, amongst your village people. Just because you read this book. Just because you read this book. And for the Muslim folks also, because you read Quran, you have created enmity with all the rest of the world that does not follow you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now tell me the usefulness of such a book that deprives you of your human nature. Tell me the one singular usefulness of a book that makes you hate your fellow neighbor. A book that teaches you how to tell people to fall down and die. A book you so much read. In the morning, in the night, when you give birth to a new baby, you even open the book in their head, formatting the head of those innocent children with your own slavery mentality. But at the end of the day, you are the one that sells fake goods. You are the one that sells fake products. You are the one that uses a different measurement, cheating people endlessly. If we go to Nigerian prison, 95% of the people in prison either B.S. Peter, Paul, Shehu, Muhammad, or whatever. Is it the rest 5% that don't follow you to church or mosque that are messing up this nation? All your senators, they read this book or the other one. It's either a book of the sun they read or the one of the moon, the depravity of man. Imagine that the statue or symbol of your own religion is the sun. So when they draw your Jesus, they must put the sun around him. The sun, this worship of sun emanated from Egypt, right? Belonging to Horus. We will talk about that one day. One of this series of You Will Backslide Just Like Me, I will talk about, maybe possibly tomorrow. Your own book is about the sun. Their own book is about the moon. So there is a war going on between you two. Because in the day, the sun will win the battle over the moon. In the night, the moon will win the battle over the sun. These are names of God. All of these two kings, they also emanated from Egypt. Imagine you are worshiping a sun or a moon all this while, and you realize that people are now stepping on the moon and even urinating on the moon, the things you have always bowed down to all your life. How cheated would you feel? But you saw these things. It was proven to you that all of these things are vague, but just creatures like you on this planet Earth, but you refuse. You refuse. We'll be doing a lot of digging deep and all of those things. If you are being won over or being convinced to look at life from the perspective of a singular book, if you cannot hold an intelligent conversation without referring to a singular book, if you cannot have friends, get married, if you cannot have a life without them being dictated for or having the characteristics of a certain book, you have learned nothing but slavery. You have learned nothing but slavery. So when this book says go, you go. When it says come, you come. You depreciated or you reduced the one who made the whole cosmos and the universe to this. These things written by man. These things written by man. So you think the only way you can actually meditate, have quiet time, or speak to your higher self, the spirit of life in the morning, is when you do open heaven, when you read it. And some of you read these things religiously. You read it as if your life depends on it. You cannot think outside of those books. Your life have no meaning except from those books. And you know, the people who told you that the book is the word of God, and for every situation there is a word, whenever they fall into trouble, they hire lawyers. They use the Constitution. Have you ever thought of that? Recently, one of your pastor or your bishop was stolen from, even though what they stole from him, he stole from others too. He did not go to the Bible. He went to the Constitution. Constitution that was written by mere men. Why didn't he go to the Bible that was written by God? Why is he melting justice on those people according to the Constitution? So those who know the law of the land tells you to know the law of other nations. Those who know the law of the land tells you to look at fiction as your way of life. And because you yourself are not even convinced about these things, you live your life from Monday to Saturday, breaking traffic rule, saying waka to people, sleeping with other people's wives, cheating on people, lying, stealing, just to go on Sunday and say, Lord, I worship you because of who you are. You are deceiving yourself. It is yourself that you are doing. If only in this nation we live by the Constitution, there will be more fear of God, more God-fearing citizens in this nation than if we live by the Bible. And look at every nation that live according to this thing. They always end up poor. They are the most miserable people in the world. They are the most miserable people in the world. See, what does it cost me to read this thing and teach you and say you come and pay money to me? How do you guys do it? That a person said, let us open to the book of Proverbs chapter 10, verse 1. It said, a wise son brings joy to his father, but a foolish son grieves his mother. You know, the Bible also said, obey your father and your mother, so that this and that. And at the end of 45 minutes motivational talks that I give to you, things you already know. And I tell you, they put basket before you, you pay your tithe. All the money you have worked for, you give me 10% of it. You give offering, you give your first fruit and all that. What does it cost me? But will you remember me very well with a fond memory when I die or I go, knowing that I cheated you? So how do people go into the sun, into the snow, into the deepest part of the world in the most convenient status or state in life to work for money just to give it to someone who opened this thing for them? You are working your ass out for someone who just opened Bible and live in luxury. Is there sense in it? So you go to work, you leave home, you go abroad. You are in abroad washing dead body, working in McDonald's, doing 3 shifts of jobs. Just to come and put your money at the feet of the one who just, all he knows in his life is just to open this. Tell him to write a CV and he has nothing on it. You went to school, you read PhD, you are well knowledgeable. You are a professor. You are an erudite fellow. And of all the things you have known, all you do is to come and kneel down before someone who opened this thing, this thing that you can query from now to tomorrow. This contradictory document that has no form of originality in it. So I begin to wonder, what happens to you? Africans, what happens to you? Black man, what happens to you? What happens to you? Must everything foreign look from above to you? The things that come from abroad, must they look like they come from above to you? What is wrong with us? Why are we living this way? When do we hope to become what we were meant to be? When are you going to actualize your divine reality and purpose in this world? When? When you keep saying this is your manual for living. Without it, you cannot think. And you carry the thing and your life is worse. You live your life according to this and you are nowhere near the people that open it to you. How many of you paying tithe is as rich as your pastor who collect tithe? How many of you who have been giving offering is as rich as the one you are giving offering to? How many of you are living in the kind of luxury right now that your pastors, your sheikh are living in? How many of you? Your parent made them rich. You are adding your riches to it. You are already right now in the corner of your heart programming your children also to come and serve the children of the people who open books for you. Who open books for you. If surely there is a God, it cannot be far away from you. I told the young man who came for a picnic, I told him that the spirit of a thing resides in a thing, else the thing is dead. The spirit of every creature on this planet Earth resides in that creature with all the full manuscripts that it requires for that thing to function, else the thing is dead. I said the spirit of a tree is inside a tree. The spirit of a man is inside a man. So if you were made by a God, that God is not sitting in heaven. That God is right within you. If there is a God who made you at all, the God will never be far away from you. Else you are gone, you are dead. So if you carry God around, you are an embodiment of that God. And as a matter of fact, you are the God you are looking for. Because whatever you say to sit here, and you mean it. Every single thing you tell to move here. As long as God will not come and open his mouth to help you say to something. Is he the one feeding you? You have been eating, going to your kitchen, putting your food in your mouth all this while. Has it been God putting it on your mouth? Right now you feel somehow indignant towards me or joyous towards me. All of these things are happening inside of you, right? Whenever you are happy, where does happiness happen? Inside you, right? Whenever you are sad, where does sadness happen? Inside of you. Every time you are joyous or depressed, where does it happen? It happens inside of you. If all of this happen inside of you without the intervention of something outside of you, why are you thinking that one God will determine your destiny? If you can determine when to be happy, when to be joyous, when to be depressed, when to be sad, you can also determine the course of your life. Now, I give an example. Well given by Sadhguru. Where do you see me right now? Where are you seeing me? On your screen, right? You see me on your screen. Thank you. I am not on your screen. I'm not where I am right now. You know what happened is that my body is able to stop the light that is coming towards me. And because my body is able to stop the light reflects back into your iris. And from your iris to your retina, and from your retina, it gets into your brain, and your brain is able to process this image and have a hold of it inside of you. So even if you don't see me tomorrow, but I speak to you, you are able to imagine me walking, talking, sitting, or moving around because I'm already inside of you. So I am not where I am right now. I am not on your screen. I am inside of you right now. So whatever has to do with what you want to experience happens right within you. It doesn't happen in your church. It doesn't happen through the Bible. It doesn't happen elsewhere. It happens within you. And your job in life is not to meet God. It is to become God here on earth. But you know, when you go to churches, they will not give you this liberation of freedom because they want you to keep coming back to a paid service church. And so they make you think that this is your manual for living. I tell you the truth, and I lie not. The one who made you is inside you. And if it's inside you, all that you need for this life and godliness, everything that requires for you to do what is right, what is wrong, is right inside of you there. Even the Boko Haram in Sambisa forest know what is right and what is wrong. Isn't that why they run away when they do wrong things? Isn't that why? A little child that is yet to be dedicated, who is still suckling, if he or she bites the mother's nipple, they give you that reaction. They know what is right, they know what is wrong. Have you told them to open the book of Genesis before? Even before you name them, they know what is right, they know what is wrong. These children are gods also. And they have all it takes. This cannot dictate to you how life will go. And because we have been relying on this to dictate to us how to live life, we find a loophole there and we say, at least the Bible is not addressing that. So constantly be aware and also be careful. Be wary of a certain sect, a certain religious gathering and association that mandate you that at all cost, you must look at life from the perspective of either your GO, your pastor, your bishop, your sheikh, your imam, or through any book whatsoever. If they don't give you the freedom to be able to think outside the box and make up your mind, they are encroaching on the 1% intelligence you have more than the animals. And you are not different from the animals of the field, because what makes them animal is that you tell them to go, you tell them to come, you give them what to eat, you cage them up and all that. That's what your pastors are doing to you. Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, even sometimes 7 days a week, they cage you up in a place. And when you are not able to make your church service on Sunday, you feel guilty as if you are sin against someone, behaving like animals. Be free. This is not your manual for living. You are your own manual for living. You know what is right, you know what is wrong. Only if you do not want to face the reality. And if you are at this stage still thinking that one God in heaven will punish you or one devil is in hell is waiting for you, you are the most unrealistic human being in the world. Because you'll be doing things only to please what you have not seen. And because you can't see it, you are able to say, okay, make I do this one and go come on high. But when you do things because it is the right thing to do, when you refuse to do things because it is the wrong thing not to do, it is the wrong thing to do, you realize that you sit on the judgment throne of your own life. And you are doing this because the repercussion, you are the one to bear it. I tell you the truth and I lie not. My name is Greatman Ayilara. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel just by your right hand side. Press the subscribe button and also the notification button. Press all so that you know when we have teaching online. And if you also want to join the Seekers Forum on Telegram, t.me/1millionseeker, t.me/1millionseeker. Be one of us today and also ask your questions. We don't discriminate, we don't judge people, we don't slash people, we don't force people. We have no manual for living and we have no doctrine we follow. We only search for the truth, and everything that looks shady we try to bring light to it, because we are the light of the world, the salt of the world, and we are the word of life. This is one thing I promise you: freedom from the fear of hell and the anticipation of heaven. I give you freedom to live this life to the maximum. If there is heaven or hell, you'll find out when you die. But for now, focus on what you have at hand and what you have yet. Namaste.
Animals, either of the beast or the sea. When you look very well